Hey there everybody, how's it going? So I got the Pentax 6.7 out today, and it's about 40 degrees, a little bit of a breeze, but it's nice out here. I'm up near Helix, Oregon. Pendleton, Oregon is where it is. I'm across the street from the, it's a gravel road. I'm across the gravel road from the 1884 or 1886, I can't remember which it is, Finnish Lutheran Church. So I'll pop some film in the old Pentax 6.7. I got a roll of Ilford FP4 Plus, which is gonna go in there, and we're gonna take some shots and see how we get on. So the first thing I'm gonna do is, okay, camera is empty, and there we are. It's set to 120, which is good. The hardest part of the Pentax 6.7 is getting these spools up into the, there it is. It's getting the thread, getting the spool up on the, there we go. Anyway, I picked up this Hasselblad and the lenses and things because they're cheap. I mean, God, I just couldn't afford them when I was younger. Like, they were $3 and $4 grand a pop, and this was, you know, back in 1995. And so just for the fun of it, just, you know, because it's film and I enjoy it, and I was like, you know, it's a good deal and it's cheap and blah 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 blah. And you know what, I really don't like shooting with the camera. I prefer the Pentax 6.7, even though I crop square. I like this square crop. For a medium format camera for shooting, I prefer the Pentax. I think that's the lens I want. And I've said it before, I really like the 90 millimeter. The thing I really like about the Pentax is I like the I like this TTL Prism in the Pentax. It's a very accurate meter, and I've always had really good results from it. So I have shot this shot before. But I like it. And I'm definitely going to do something with the striped fields. That looks interesting too. But I'm going to go, let's go F11, let's go F16. F16, hyperfocal distance focusing, which is really easy. Let's see what that does. Metering wise, let me make sure I'm set to 100 ISO for FP4 Plus. Yep, good. And that's saying 1/8 of a second, which is a cable release thing. I mean, the interchangeable backs are nice on the Hasselblad, but in all honesty, I don't use them. I shoot black and white film. I rarely shoot color. If I see a color shot for film, I'll shoot a whole roll. It's only 10 exposures. The 6.7 gives me almost large format image quality. So the 6.7 dance is mirror up. Take the shot. I should have made sure my tripod was all locked down, but it was, so I got away with it. And I always take another one in case there's damage when I'm processing the film. Always good to have a backup, etc. You know, I want to see if a polarizer will do anything for me. I don't think it will. Nope, it's not that kind of a day. But what might really do something for me is my red filter. And right now I just have this cheap Koken. I need to get a 82 millimeter red filter, which isn't cheap. Your colored black and white filters are very expensive these days. They're just not that popular, so it's economies of scale. But for the Pentax 6.7 system, you standardize on the 82 millimeter filters because the 45 millimeter, the widest rectilinear lens for the 6.7 system, is 82 millimeters. Everything else is 77 or 72. I think the 90 is 67. And then you just use the step rings. But I don't have an 82 millimeter red filter, so I just hold this in front for now. Now this, I'm going to give it a 3-stop filter factor. So that's 1/4 of a second, 2 seconds, 1 second. So that's a 1 second exposure. Mirror up, which I already did, I think, unless I didn't wind the film, and I'll find that out in a second. I didn't wind the film. Okay, fair enough. Wind the film. Make sure my big fingers are out of it. Mirror up. 1 second. You know, and the Hasselblad doesn't take batteries, which is nice. Of course, if you put the metered prism on it, it does. Pentax 6.7 takes a battery, but it's also got, you know, a timed focal plane shutter, which, you know, the Hasselblad is all mechanical in each lens, and I get that. I think it's the form factor. I don't like the long form factor of it. And the Hasselblad gets heavy for what it is when you put the prism on it. The Pentax is actually, I think, it feels smaller than the Hasselblad in some ways. I don't know. You know, it's 6 of one, half dozen of another, and it's subjective and it's personal choice. But I really like the Pentax 6.7, and I enjoy shooting with it. So I got to do something with those striped fields. Let me see if I can show you that. I don't know whether you see this. Let me straighten you out here. This Siru travel tripod, the head is such garbage. But it's what I got. It works. It's lightweight. I think it only weighs a pound. I'd replace the head, but it like I said, it works. But you see those stripes back there? I'm going to put the 200 millimeter lens on the Pentax 6.7, see if I can't do something with that. Most of your Pentax 6.7s are pretty beat up, and that's because it's such a bulky camera compared to smaller cameras that they get bashed around. I mean, you have to be extra careful, it seems, with the 6.7 to keep it from getting clobbered. Or they just, a lot of them just get really a lot of hard use, which is what it is. And I go back and forth between film and digital. On the one hand, it's nice to just be able to explore any image or composition you want with digital, and it doesn't cost you anything. And you know, this is $1 a shot. It's $10 a roll. You get 10 shots on a roll. It's $8.99, but with the chemicals to process it, it's $10. That's a rough estimate. It's $1 a shot, but on the other hand, like you know, the times that I actually get out to shoot are so few and far between. You know, if I was going out and shooting every day, if I lived like in Portland back in the 90s, when, you know, you could go out 2-3 times a week and shoot a lot, which, you know, I couldn't afford it back then, but I would have if I could have. Yeah, then it was, even back then when film was cheap, it was prohibitive. But now, you know, I can afford the film, and I don't get out to shoot as much as I did back in the day. There was just, you know, when I go on a trip, you know, I can shoot 400 or 500 digital images. But what you tend to do with digital is you take like 5 or 10 of the same thing. I don't know why, but people do that. I think because it's free. I do it. And with film, you know, you take 2, 3, bracket maybe if it's a really great shot, but then you move on. So you shoot a lot less with film, but you waste a lot of time, not time, you waste a lot of images with digital, just doing the same thing over and over again, kind of. The one thing I tend not to do with film, and particularly a bigger camera, with 35 millimeter camera, I would do that more. 35 millimeter film camera. What I'm talking about is like, you know, just seeing a shot and going, oh, click. Like you don't do that with a 6.7. You could, I guess, but with the medium format, you tend to like be a little bit more picky about your shots. But I don't know. I mean, it's 6 of one, half dozen of another, and it's kind of conflicting in a way. But I do know this: when you nail it in film, you definitely nailed it. And with digital, like, yeah, maybe kind of, sort of. It just never feels like you get to the top of the mountain, at least for me. And with film, like, there, you know, when you get it, you get it. So the other thing is with film, and like I said, neither one is better or worse, and I go back and forth between the two of them. And there's good and bad with either. But I've got negatives from like 30, 40 years ago. You know, and now it's a pain in the butt to sort through them and to find them and to look at them and whatever, but I still have them. Whereas I have hard drives from 10 years ago that are gone. Like, I don't know what happened to them. They quit working, whatever. I mean, they were like, and particularly back in the 2005 to 2010, those 5 years, there's a lot of images that just, and the other problem is, even if you got the hard drive, 98% of it is just, you know, filler, where you just took a lot of shots that don't count. And with film, it's like, you know, there's some filler, but most of the shots you take count. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. Which approach do you prefer? I don't know. I do know I enjoy shooting film. And so I'm going to do it when I can, and while I can, and today's a great day for it. So let's get this shot of the stripes and see how we get on with that. So we're going to go f16 again. Something like yo, hyperfocal distance focusing, 1/8 of a second. I'm going to try one with the stripes more leading away from me. Let's see what that does. All right, I think that's it. One like that. I think I got another shot left. I might have 2 more. Two, 3 stops for the red filter. There's a roll. All right, so there it is. Yeah, using the Pentax 6.7. It's really an enjoyable camera to shoot with, and I really enjoy the system. I really like the 6.7. The cameras, some of them just, you know, some of the videos on YouTube, some of the cameras are just trashed. They're still functioning. You know, you want to talk about, somebody said the Pentax 6.7 is like an old boot. It just keeps working. And ain't that the truth? I mean, I will tell you this, the Hasselblad feels a lot more delicate than a 6.7. You really can't bash a Hasselblad around, but you can bash a 6.7 around. Not that I would do that. The other thing is the cost. You know, Hasselblads have always had, well, they started out so expensive, but they've seemed to have maintained their value. Well, it's like kind of like Leica that people can still afford. So Hasselblads, you know, yeah, don't get me wrong, it's a great camera system. It's very sharp. The other thing you need to understand is the Hasselblad is as sharp as a Pentax 6.7 when you crop it square, but it's only as sharp as a 6.4.5 when you crop it rectangle. Whereas the 6.7 is as sharp as a Hasselblad cropped square, and it's sharper than the Hasselblad over a bigger piece of film in 6.7, okay? So medium format, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around that, but when you shoot it for a while, you understand what I'm talking about. Take my word for it. So yeah, you know, Pentax 6.7 is one of those weird cameras where having shot both, and now that we're, you know, past the stigma, I mean, they're all kind of the same price. I mean, you can get a Hasselblad for about the same money you'd spend on a 6.7, a little bit more expensive now. Lenses are kind of about the same, although not really. Like the 45mm lens for the 6.7, you can get for under 500, maybe 350, 400. And the Hasselblad 50mm is like $1,000, and the 40mm is like $2,000. So the 6.7's still a less expensive system. You can get a really clean Pentax 6.7 mirror lockup body for $1,200, $1,300 with a lens. So that's not bad at all. And they're still out there. They're getting harder to find though, because the more, you know, they're not making any more of them, and whatever's out there that's getting used is not staying in as clean a condition as it once was. So so there is that. But the only thing that I know that I'm really careful with is the wind mechanism on it. Not that it's delicate. It's just that if you're going to have problems, you're going to have problems with the wind mechanism, because that's the interface. And you know, the old-fashioned guys, they used to have two assistants loading them while they were firing them off and just, you know, cramming on that shutter, cramming on that wind mechanism. You know, yeah, so there is that. I mean, it's all brass gears and everything, so it's, like I said, it's made like an old boot. Anyway, beautiful day of photography for winter time, for a January day. I mean, there really is no wind to speak of, and it's 40 degrees. I'd love to come up here in the snow, but I'm not sure I can get here because I got to go over some of the worst passes in Oregon to get here. But today it was a doddle. It was great, no problem at all. Anyway, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, join my Patreon page for free, become a subscribing member, become a supporting member for $1. That's $12 a year. I mean, and then you have access to all the content on my Patreon page. Or you can support me for more than that if you really want to, and that would be wonderful. There ain't much money in being a landscape photographer, I'll tell you that right now. The book is selling, my book, Painter Passing Through, which I didn't bring a copy of, which I should have. Yeah, I'm all commerce, I am, is selling great. As a matter of fact, we're getting down to like the last boxes of them. So, the first edition is going to be gone here fairly soon if it keeps selling the way it is. But thank you so much to everybody who's bought it. That's so wonderful. And other than that, we'll see you out here. Hopefully you're doing some great photography where you're at. And yeah, you just got to get out there. You just got to do it, you know. So have a great one. Bye.